That's okay. We're rolling. We'll try that again. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Church of Grace. My name is Patrick Hayes, and I'm the pastor here, and I had to switch my microphone over to no. That was an AV joke. There you go. On, you're just looking at it upside down. The humor is going to be dry. It's going to come fast, so you have to pay attention. Steve, did Blythe get some notes? Did you give her any? Already failed at your first job? Wonderful. So, over the next 5 weeks, we're going to cover enough about personal finances in the Bible to help you change your life forever. Nothing that I am going to teach you is going to be terribly original to Patrick Hayes, and I'm going to share with you what I was taught about 25 years ago by a lot of folks that were smarter than me. There are several good books that you can read to help you with your finances. We have 3 books for sale on a little book table in the back, so be sure to take a look at those when we're done. They're available tonight. We are going to take a look at what the Bible says about money. God has a great deal to say about money and our personal finances and how he wants us to handle our money. And our main goal over the course of this month is to get your finances in line with God's plan. And I think for most of us, 9 out of 10 things that God wants us to do with our money, we would probably agree with. Things like get out of debt, save for the future. Now, as we go through this, you have a notebook here, and there's some room in the notebook, just a bunch of lined areas where you can jot down your own notes. There's going to be some fill in the blank, and you get to keep this and take this home. Please bring it every week. There's going to be information in here we're going to use every week. All the Bible verses we go over are in here. All the stats we go over are in here, several quotes, and it's going to just help you, kind of follow along as we go through this. A couple things you should know. Number 1, ask any question you want at any time. Just raise your hand and ask a question. Please, somebody decide I am going to be the bold person to ask the question. Because if you're thinking, boy, I wonder what he means by this, 4 or 5 people in the room are thinking that, but everyone's too scared to ask it. Just raise your hand and ask a question. Along with that, get up at any time to get coffee. You all know where the restroom is. It's in the back there to my right. Your left. So don't be afraid to just get up and go if you need anything. We're going to try to teach for about 35, 45 minutes. We'll take a 10-minute break so you can stretch your legs, get some more coffee, do some jumping jacks, and then we'll get back together and we'll teach for another 30, 45 minutes. That's about the way we're going to do it every night through the month of January. I can already tell you this. We are going to be meeting for 5 weeks. I know the flyer said 4, but by the time I got done with everything, I'm telling you we're going to do this for 5, and if anyone wants to meet for a 6th, I might be more than happy to come back. But there's just a lot of information that we're going to go over. Now, something else to remember. Who's the youngest person here? How old are you? Yeah. What? 14. Who's the oldest person here? Don't tell me how old you are, okay? So my point is, we're all in different stages of life. So we're going to go over a lot of information. Some of it might be boring to you because it doesn't really apply. Other stuff might be very helpful. There are some folks that have never worked their first minimum wage job, and other of us had to figure out how to pay for the security to guard us from dinosaurs when we went to our first job. Okay, so my point is we're all at different stages. So as we go through the information, understand all of it isn't going to be as pertinent. Tonight especially, I don't know, it's not as exciting as nights 2 and 3. I'm also just kind of trying to lower your expectations. If you have never been to our church, that is our church motto. Lower your expectations. Okay, that was another joke. It's okay. We're going to start off with the bad news. I'm going to go over some current statistics about personal finances. 1/3 of Americans say they are struggling or in a crisis when it comes to their finances. 50% of Americans are having trouble paying their rent, and 1/3 are struggling to pay their mortgage payment. 2/3 of Americans feel like they are losing when it comes to money. And 40% of households surveyed could not last 1 month if they lost their income. If their job stopped and no money was coming in, they would be flat broke in 30 days and they wouldn't know what to do. The reason for this is debt. Debt in America is out of control. This part is real bad because it's got to be dealt with. Our debt doesn't just go away. The average American carries $7,951 in credit card debt. That's a statistic from USA Today, November of 2023. Now remember, that's the average. That's real bad. Currently, America has record credit card debt. It is the worst it has ever been in America's history. And I'm not talking about a balance on your credit card that you pay off at the end of every month. I'm talking about unsecured debt, junk that you couldn't even sell to pay off your debt. Along with credit cards, people are buying cars, trucks, boats, and houses that they cannot afford. And remember, this is important. This is a principle we're going to discuss several times. Just because the bank will loan you money does not mean you can afford it. But the bank said I can afford a house this big. No. They said they'll give you money to buy a house that big. That doesn't mean you can afford it. It's up to you to figure out what you can afford and what you cannot afford. Just because a bank says they'll give you money does not mean it's a good idea. I could introduce you to a loan shark that'll give you money. It doesn't mean it's sound financial advice. Savings. One of the reasons for the debt problem is our savings problem. Basically, nobody is saving money. Savings is the amount of money we have left over at the end of every month. And if we accumulate more of it every month, then we have a savings plan. 2/3 of Americans could not cover a $400 emergency. They get a bill that comes in the mail they weren't expecting. They have a medical expense. They have a car accident. Something comes up, $400. They couldn't cover it. They're asking family for money. They're going and they're going to get a credit card to rack up more debt. Where do you think those tens of thousands of dollars of credit card debt come from? People don't have an emergency fund. So when an emergency shows up, no one has the money to cover it. And just to be clear, Christmas is not an emergency. As far as I understand, it comes up the same time every year. You would think someone would save up some money to cover it. Any questions so far? All right, we're going to go over 25 signs that you are in financial trouble. I wrote them down in your notes. We're going to try to get through these kind of quick, but we're going to, mention them and, talk just a little bit. So whenever I bring up this idea, someone is always willing to say, brother, I know when I'm in financial trouble. When I look out my living room window and they're hooking up my car to tow it away, that's a sign that I'm in financial trouble. That is a sign. But before they come to repossess the house, before they come to repossess the automobile, there are several things in our life that we could be doing that will show us that we are in trouble and we need to change something. If any one of these things that we're going to list here is going on in your life, you need to be here for every one of these classes. If after that you want some individual financial coaching, we can talk about that. That is available. So I know I'm in financial trouble if, number one, I don't know how much I owe and I'm afraid to add it up. If you don't know how much you owe, to whom you owe it, the balance on that debt, the monthly payment, what the interest rate is, and what the penalty is for paying it late, and when it's due, that's a sign of financial trouble. Okay, do not be scared to add it up. It's where you are. And if you and I sit down to talk about the numbers, I'm not going to scold you. Okay, you got to face the situation. We need to add it up. I know I'm in financial trouble if I don't pay off my credit cards each month, the whole amount. Well, brother, I pay on them. I just don't pay them off. Then you have a problem. You might not understand why yet, but you are spending money that you don't have. That's what we do. That's what a credit card is for. I know I'm in financial trouble if I have asked for an increase in my credit limit. Why would we ask for an increase in our credit limit? Yeah, because we maxed out the limit that they gave us, and we're not done spending money we don't have. So I call up and see if I can get that number raised a little bit. That's a sign we're in financial trouble. Number 4, I have increased the number of cards that I carry. Now, once again, you can't use the ones you have anymore because you maxed them out. So here's the logic. I maxed out the amount of debt that I have on my first card. I cannot pay off the debt on that first card that I've accumulated. I want to get into more debt more quickly than I want to pay off the debt that I'm already in on that card, so I get another credit card and work on maxing out that one. Now, we might not have thought through that, but that's what's going on. That's why we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, 25 credit cards. I know I'm in financial trouble if I use one credit card to make payments on another one. You say, brother, that doesn't happen. Oh, it happens. Come and sit behind my desk. Now, I don't have a desk. But if I had a desk, okay, let me tell you, it happens. We have been duped into believing that it is a good financial strategy. We're using other people's money. OPM. We're going to talk about that. The problem with OPM is they always want their money back. And they want it back when they want it back, and they want it back with interest, and when they don't get it, they get pretty snooty about it. I know I'm in financial trouble if I post-date or write bad checks. Now, the younger generation doesn't know what that means because no one uses checks anymore. But there was a time when we'd say, well, I get paid on Monday and we're out of groceries, so I just go to the grocery store and I'm going to write a check and I'm going to put it in there. And by the time the check hits the bank on Monday, the money will be in there and it's no big deal. Nobody's going to know the difference. What's the big deal? Well, that's not true. Someone will know, and his name is Jesus, and he'll know you're crooked. And crooked people don't get blessed by God. I know I'm in financial trouble if, number 7, I only pay the interest on my credit cards or loans. We will literally never get out of debt. We're going to do the math on that in a little bit. We will never make forward progress. Number 8, you have no savings plan. So if you can't put money away on a week-to-week or paycheck-to-paycheck basis, then you need to call whoever's in charge of emergencies and have them call yours off, because you can't afford one. Financial emergencies come up. They're unexpected. That's why they're called emergencies. And if we are not putting away money, then how do we deal with a financial emergency if we don't save money? Plastic, credit, more debt. I know I'm in financial trouble if I don't have any retirement. Do you know how many people I've heard say, oh, brother, I plan on retiring? That's not a retirement plan. I know I'm in financial trouble if I spend more than 25% of my take-home pay on the place where I live. Now, this one gets folks upset. And we're going to talk a lot about the home mortgage, and I know how expensive homes are right now, and I know how expensive interest rates are right now. But that doesn't change the fact that every percentage point on your budget that you spend on your mortgage is 1 percentage point that you cannot use to save or invest. You can take your financial future and set it back years by making this one big mistake and buying way too much house. I know I'm in financial trouble if I'm more than 1 month behind on any given bill. Number 12, if I don't have at least 10 times my annual salary and life insurance benefits. Now, as a husband, is it my job to take care of my wife and kids for my entire life? No, it's not. It's my job to take care of my wife and kids for their whole life, not mine. It doesn't stop when I die. It stops when she dies. The way that we do that is through term life insurance. We're going to talk about that. I know I'm in financial trouble if I am now or I am considering going bankrupt. Psalm 37, verse 21. The Bible says, "The wicked borroweth and payeth not again." The wicked borroweth and payeth not again. You need to pay back all of your debts. I don't need to remind any of us here that wicked people don't get blessed by God. Now, sometimes it takes a long time to pay off our debts, and sometimes we can very easily get away with declaring bankruptcy and avoiding paying off our debts. However, Jesus knows our debts, and he'll know if we've paid them off, and he'll know if we're crooked or not. The Bible says that we are wicked if we borrow and do not pay. And we know that the wicked are not blessed of God. I know I'm in financial trouble if I do not have health insurance. Now, I know there's no such thing as cheap health insurance, but there are alternatives. We're going to talk about those. Do you know that 50% of bankruptcies come from medical bills? 50%. So we have to prepare for that. I know I'm in financial trouble if I don't have a budget. Now, I know several ladies just almost fainted right there because we cover our ears as if the word budget is a 4-letter curse word. We need a budget in our life. A budget is a roadmap. That is a plan for our money. We will not be successful with our money if we do not have a budget. We're going to talk a lot about the budget. Number 16, depending on parents, friends, or others to help you out. Number 7, outdated job skills, poor job performance, lack of a job security. It is important to save and invest wisely, but without income, none of us would be able to do that. Our income is our number one tool for wealth creation. You need to not only have a job, you need to be good at your job, you need to be seeking advancement in your job so you can make more money and get promotions. You need to have a job and you need to work hard. See, here's the thing. We don't all get a say when layoffs come. The industry changes, the economy changes, and all of a sudden they say, you know what, we're going to have to lay off 15% of the workforce. That is the time when you need to be invaluable. You need to be priceless in the eyes of your employer. I know I'm in financial trouble if I get turned down for a loan. Now, I love this one. This one's funny to me because the bank understands what you do not, that you have a major financial problem. That's why you got turned down. I know I'm in financial trouble if I use payday loans or pawn shops. I know I'm in financial trouble if, number 20, financing a vehicle for more than 5 years. If you need more than 5 years to afford that new vehicle purchase, you are kidding yourself. Number 21, consolidating debt while still using available credit. We can talk about debt consolidation, but nothing will help you get out of debt if you keep using available credit. If you want to get out of a hole, you got to put down the shovel. Okay, we cannot keep racking up new debt if we're trying to get out of debt. Number 22, fighting about money with your spouse or significant other. Now, out of all the things that you can fight about, money is the easiest one to fix. So as a pastor, you end up in the position of a counselor often, and a lot of times it's with married couples. I love financial counseling because it's just math. It's the easiest one to get people to stop fighting about. You can show them the situation, here's the plan, this is what we're going to do, bada bing. Easy peasy. Now, whether they want to do it or not, you don't get a say in that. But dealing with people and emotions, ugh. I will counsel anybody all day long on finances. It is easy. Folks, over the course of the month, we are never going to do anything beyond 5th grade math. There is no secret sauce, there is no unicorn dust, and there's nothing magical about this. Number 23, failing to participate in family financial decisions. So letting your spouse handle it is the ostrich syndrome. Heads in the sand, just hoping everything is okay. We don't want to do that. We don't want to know what's going on, and we just hope that our spouse is doing fine. That is a bad, bad place to be. I know I'm in financial trouble if, number 24, I am misrepresenting purchases to my spouse. It's called lying, and we do it when we are in trouble. And number 25, I know I'm in financial trouble if I'm using a credit card to pay for necessities because I don't have the cash. Okay, so with all that, hopefully I got somebody's attention. Some of us, our finances might be in a mess, and we can look at several of those that kind of hit us square between the eyes. Others of us might be thinking, you know, I'm better off, but if we're all going to be honest, we probably could improve somewhere. 75% of households surveyed say that the idea of discussing finances brings them stress and anxiety. 3 out of 4. So don't be ashamed to admit, you know what, we could use a tune-up, we could do a little bit better, we can all learn something, and we can all improve. There's room for improvement, okay? If our goal is to be financially free, then we probably need to change a bunch of things. But the good news is, no matter how bad off we are, there is a solution. Our problems can get fixed, and we can get on track, and one day we can be out of debt and completely financially free. Any questions? You guys are easy. All right. Okay, so we're going to get into the plan. What's the plan? How do we get there? Okay, this is January 3rd, right? Okay, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but so you don't have to participate in this pop quiz kind of survey here, but it's the beginning of the new year. Who here wants to lose a few pounds? Right, we've all thought about it. Okay, you ain't going to do it. Put your hands down. You're all going to fail. Do you know why? Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Now, that is a statistic. Do you want to know who studied out the statistic to say that greater than 95% of you will not last 2 weeks on that New Year's resolution? You want to know who studied that out? Gyms who sell yearly memberships in the first 2 weeks of January. They found out that greater than 95% of people will never show up in the gym again by February 1st. That's why they sell you a year-long membership. And that's why they sell them so cheap, is because they know you're only going to be there for 2 weeks. Now, here's the reason that we fail. If we want, do you know the difference between a goal and a dream? Okay, the destination is the same for a dream and a goal. The difference is a goal has a plan. So let's say we're $48,000 in debt. We have a goal of being debt-free. We got some credit cards, we got some student loan, we got some things we want to pay off, and we say, okay, we're going to get out our budget, and we're going to figure out where we can make some room, and we say, okay, we figured out that we can free up $2,000 if we really hunker down, and if we put $2,000 a month toward the debt, in 2 years, we'll be $48,000 of debt, bada bing. We got a plan, we got a timeline, we figured out an amount, and now that plan can reach that goal. Everybody might have that dream of getting out of debt. The difference between a dream and a goal is a goal has a plan. It has a timeline. It has amounts. That's how we get there. All right, so how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We are going to get our finances in order one step at a time. Like eating an elephant, getting our finances in order might be a monumental task, but we are always going to accomplish the task one step at a time. So for the rest of the evening, we are going to go over the plan. This plan is very simple. This plan is not terribly creative, but if you possess the self-discipline to follow this plan, you will see amazing and inspiring changes in your life in just a month or two. A year from now, you won't believe how much better your life will be. And I'm going to repeat this quote several times. I believe it is at the bottom right-hand corner of your first page. Winning with money is 80% behavior and only 20% head knowledge. If you can get that person in the mirror to change their habits, there's no stopping you. That's a quote from Dave Ramsey. His book is on our table back there. We're selling it. It is about changing our behavior. There are some things we need to learn, sure, but it's about taking that first step. Before we get into the plan, I want to make one more thing clear. I'm going to be teaching you my plan. This plan is the one that Joanna and I have been on for almost 20 years. There are several financial people out there. Probably all of them are smarter than me, and they all have their own plan. You can get on whatever plan you choose. I believe the one we're going to talk about is the most biblically accurate. Step one of the plan. Here's the fill in the blank for you. Step one. Stop racking up new debt. We're going to repeat that a lot. Step one is stop racking up new debt. If you want to get out of a hole, you need to put down the shovel. One of the main reasons people are in debt and financial trouble is because they want what their parents have without working like their parents did. They want the stuff the people across the street have. Now, depending on your age and the age of your parents might have come out of a time where debt and laziness were frowned upon. They worked very hard for a great number of years and they paid off their debts, and then they had the money saved up where they were able to purchase the luxury items that they wanted. We see the wealth of the older generation and we want the same possessions without the same hard work and savings. And it just doesn't happen. It can happen for all of us. It's obtainable, but it is not going to happen overnight. The simple fact is people do not become wealthy without some hard work and some discipline. The simple fact is that most Americans are living way beyond their means. And if we want to take our finances seriously, we are going to stop doing that tonight. Step one, stop racking up new debt. Here we go. Credit cards. The number one way Americans rack up debt is by using credit cards. Credit cards are the way we spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people we don't like. Credit cards are the way we spend money we don't have on things we don't need to impress people we don't like. I'm going to say that a lot. Now imagine you owe $2,500 on a credit card. So you got a $2,500 balance on this credit card, and this credit card has an APR of 16%. You should thank God if you have a credit card with 16%. I think the average percentage rate, APR is annual percentage rate. 16% interest. I think the average nowadays is over 20, and there are some credit cards that are even in the low 30s as far as the percentage rate. Now, let's say that you have a $2,500 credit card, and the card holder is going to calculate the minimum payment like most credit card holders do, where they're going to say 2% of the total of the balance is what you're going to have for a monthly payment, which is going to be $50 a month. Now, that's the minimum you have to pay every month on a credit card balance with $2,500 on it. Now, you take that credit card. You stop using it. You don't buy anything anymore. You're not increasing the amount of money you owe them anymore. But you decide, I'm just going to pay the minimum monthly payment every month of $50. If you only pay the minimum payment required, how long will it take you to pay off that credit card? What do you think? 22 years. 22 years. That's a fill in the blank on your notes there. And when you pay off that credit card in 22 years, how much do you pay? What's the total amount? Total amount you're going to pay is $6,500 on a $2,500 credit card bill. Because you weren't willing to save up the money, you paid 2.6 times the amount that you spent on that card. So that $100 meal cost you $260 because you put it on a credit card and paid the minimum payment every month. This is a habit of the poor. Now, we're going to use a lot of terms. I want to make sure you guys understand something. Poor is a mindset. It's not an amount of money. You don't have any money, you're broke. Poor is a mindset. We want to change that mindset. We want you to stop thinking like a poor person. We want you to start thinking like a rich person. Poor people will not save up the money for what they want. They want it now. Poor people act like children. They want it now. And using a credit card to buy it is the same as an 8-year-old throwing a fit in the line at Walmart for the candy bar. They want it and they want it now. It's just that they're 18 years old and Visa and MasterCard got a hold of them. Now, some people are going to say, Patrick, I just use a credit card for simplicity. I don't want to carry around cash, so I have a credit card and I pay off the balance every month. First of all, you probably don't. But let's say, okay, that's what you do. Research shows us that even though most people say that they're going to live that way, almost nobody does. Most people use a credit card to get into debt on small or large items which carry tremendously high amounts of interest, causing us to pay more than double the price on the items we purchase. We wonder why we don't have money to save up or to invest. It is because we are spending that money. We are spending that money before we have it. Ready for this? Americans spend more using credit cards. Everybody spends less when they have cash and they have to count out the balance of the purchase. When you go someplace and you got to count out a whole bunch of Benjamin Franklins and hand it over, you ever do that? It's hard, especially when you're young. When you're young and you're broke and you want this thing and you saved up for it and you got to count out $100 bills to hand it over, all of a sudden you don't want to let go of that stuff because you realize, man, I had to work this many hours for it. Studies have been done. A Dun & Bradstreet study concludes that people who use credit cards spend an astounding 12 to 18% more on transactions than those who use cash. Additionally, an MIT study finds that credit cards incentivize consumers to, quote, step on the gas and spend more than they would by using cash. Kroger did a study showing that grocery purchases double when the shopper uses plastic. Yep. Visa and MasterCard spend billions a year, billions with a B, on research and advertising figuring out how to get young people hooked on credit cards. Do you know that universities and colleges around America let credit card companies come and set up a shop and give someone a free t-shirt to 18-year-olds that show up in college because they know they'll get the kids hooked on using credit cards for the rest of their lives, and the colleges get a kickback from Visa and MasterCard for doing that every year. Every college campus all across America. Go to any major city in America, look at the tallest building in that city, who owns it? A bank. A bank that issues a credit card. They are worse than drug dealers. They want to get you hooked. So, here's the scenario. Your wife's birthday is coming up. You go to the mall, you go to her favorite store, and you're going to buy her a new dress. You walk in there, and if you're like me, you have no idea what you're doing. So you go up to the young lady, say, hey, I'm here to buy a dress for my wife. What's her first question? She doesn't care what size she is. How much do you want to spend? And you say, well, I was planning on spending $100. She brings you over to a rack of dresses. How much do the dresses cost? $150, right? Yeah. She is a salesman, and a good one, and a smart one. And she knows that you're probably going to be shopping with plastic. And even though your plan was to spend $100, you're more than happy to swipe that card and spend more money than you intended to. How many times have you gone out to eat, bought clothes, or even taken a vacation that you could not afford, and you borrowed the money through plastic purchases at a lousy rate of return? We can probably all say we've done it once. Some of us live our life that way. Joanna and I, we use a debit card. That's it. If we don't have the money in the bank, we don't buy it. We don't pay for it. Period. We have not had an unpaid credit card debt since we've been married, going on 18 years. If we don't have the money for it, we don't buy it. Now, people think I hate credit cards, and that's probably pretty accurate. But a credit card is honestly a piece of plastic. It's not virtuous, nor is it wicked. The credit card company, I hate them. What does a credit card allow you to do? A credit card allows you to spend money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people you don't like. That's what a credit card is for. So step one, stop racking up new debt. So I suggest to everybody, if you're married, go home tonight and have a discussion with your spouse and decide if you are going to get on this plan or not. And if you are going to get on this plan, then go home, pile up all of your credit cards and cut them in half. Put them in a Ziploc bag and hang them from your refrigerator as a reminder to you while you are trying to get out of debt and get your finances straightened out. You should go home and have a discussion with your spouse. That's important because if one of you is on board with getting out of debt and changing your financial future and the other is not, it's going to be tough. So you want to get on the same page. But you both need to agree that you are going to change your behavior today. So in 20 years, you're not going to retire on dog food and government assistance. Because there are a lot of people that are in that situation. And I feel terrible for all of them. And I'm telling you this right now, and I'll say it again, if we are counting on the government to come to the rescue, we are fooling ourselves. Homework, step one. Homework step one, go home, pile up all your credit cards and cut them in half. You're going to perform plastic surgery. Now, you are going to have to call up and cancel these credit cards. Do not worry. Your credit card company will cancel a card that there is a balance on. Even if you have a balance, you can cancel that card. You don't have to have it paid off first. So cancel that card. And when you make that call, that credit card company is going to offer you the sun, moon, and stars to stay with them. Because as I said before, and I'll say now again, they are worse than drug dealers. Next, you'll need to make sure that you have a debit card attached to your checking account, and you'll probably have to call a bunch of places where you have automatic payments coming out and change them over from the credit cards that you just destroyed over to your new debit card so you can pay all your bills, and that you want to make sure it's going to come out of the right checking account. Any questions? Come on, one of you wants to argue with me.
I don't have credit cards. I have medical debt.
Mm-hmm.
I keep getting, and then I break my wrist. Anyhow.
Sure.
There's a spiritual loophole for that. I've controlled my behavior. I don't have credit cards. I live within my means.
Yeah.
Very little.
That's good.
I mean,
So we're going to go over getting out of debt.
a separate thing.
It's going to be next week. Okay, we're going to get into how to retire our debt across the board. So there are some, based on some factors which we can talk about, okay, one being, is the debt new? Has it gone to collections? Where are we at? How much it is? There's a whole bunch of questions to ask, and there are some things you can do. But by and large, you know, that is unfortunate, but it's way different than consumer debt, you know, which is what we're talking about, you know.
And I did pray that I would avoid surgery on my broken wrist, and it worked. So I avoided that.
It's good.
That way.
That's good. I'll tell you what, if I could change one thing in the world, I wish I could heal people like Jesus did. I would just go around and heal everybody. But,
In a prayer group.
yeah.
I need to save money.
Yeah. So good question. We'll get to that. All right, we're about to move on to step 2. I want to give everyone a chance to ask any questions they might have on step 1 before we do it. Yes, Christy. Okay, so so we're talking. So I'm going to repeat the question just so people at home can hear it. So you heard that canceling credit cards can hurt your credit. Have I heard of that? You know, and is that an issue? Okay, so this is a good conversation, and I want to have this real quick. So number 1, why do you care if you have bad credit? Okay, so the most common answer to why do you care if you have bad credit is the answer you gave, which is, what if I want to buy a house today? Do you know that you do not need good credit to buy a house? All you need, you don't need any credit to buy a house. All you need to do is find a lender that does what's called manual underwriting. There are several. I will give you their names. Prior to the FICO score and credit, because guess what? Credit scores didn't exist 100 years ago. What they did was they verified your income, your employment. They verified several things. They looked at your bank accounts, and then they had to decide, as a person, not a computer, we will risk lending money to this person. There are several lenders that will still do that. It's called manual underwriting. You do not need credit. You can have no credit. You can have bad credit. It doesn't matter. Yes, Nick? Debt-secured credit cards?
Like you essentially give, it's like, it's not a debit card, but you have to have $1,000 and they give you $1,000 limit. You give them $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
They give you a $1,000 limit. And you have to pay it off every month.
Uh-huh.
And then you can, if you ever want to cancel it, you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you your $1,000 back.
Sure.
But you can still, if you don't pay it off, it still takes up interest. But it builds your score just like a credit card would.
Again, I ask you the same question. What do you need a credit score? What do you need a credit score increased for? Just so for everyone, there's one answer: to borrow money. That's it. That's the only answer there is for a better credit score. And what I am telling you is that debt is bad. It's not only bad, God says it's a curse. And we should avoid it at every single place on earth. God says that when you are in debt, you are a slave to he that you owe money to.
No 30-day accounts for business.
So you're going to have several things. So business, and we can get in and we can talk to it, or we can talk about it. So the best way to operate everything is cash. Okay? So you pay cash for everything, and there are several reasons for it. One of the biggest reasons is we don't get to determine what comes up next. We don't know what's happening next. The problem is nowadays, businesses and individuals operate on credit. They say that the way to run everything is with other people's money. And the problem is things come up that we don't have control over. A pandemic is issued and business is shut down. You didn't get a say in that. We lose our job. Our industry changes. And if we are leveraged, we're in trouble. Now, I know that throws a wet towel on a lot of plans of a lot of people, but what I'm saying is we can avoid that problem if we deal with cash. Blythe. Mm-hmm. 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 Uh-huh. So, yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I have had, okay. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish it. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So my question for you, okay, we're going to come down to a few issues here. So number one, for any individual, out of tens of thousands of millionaires surveyed, which is a study done in this book, The Millionaire Next Door, which is on sale on that book table. Out of tens of thousands of millionaires surveyed, not one of them said, I got ahead by the points I accumulated on my credit card. That was never a contributing factor to help anybody. And it's a common suggestion as to, well, this helps me to, go to Mexico for free, once a year with my spouse. I get the points, I get the miles, I get to fly there. It's free. We still don't avoid several problems. Number one, okay, by doing that, we are going to spend more than we intend. That's what individuals do. That's what credit card companies count on. Number two, it never contributes to our wealth. If those two don't convince you, as a Christian, we can't get around the fact that the Bible says we are a slave to the lender and it is a curse. If we don't care, then what we're saying is, Patrick, I don't like your plan. All right, do your own plan. Doesn't affect me or my retirement by $1. Go ahead, Blythe. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. No, go ahead. It's okay. Mm-hmm. 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 Then why don't you just pay for it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So here's the problem that you're going to run into. You don't have to believe it. You can call me an idiot. I've been called an idiot. from the time I could toddle around. It won't hurt my feelings a bit. Lots of people are going to disagree with me, not only tonight on this one issue, but this is night one, and it's going to get harder than tonight. Do you believe the Bible? Do you believe that debt's a curse? Okay, then do not have your nonprofit be cursed by God. 100%. I would not do it. So here's the thing. There's two ways we're going to look at things, okay? We're going to look at things pragmatically. Is that how you spell it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we're going to look at things spiritually. Money is no different. We're going to talk about the tithe at some point. To be honest, that's literally the reason I'm going to have to come here one extra night, because we're not even getting to it for so long. Spiritually speaking, I am going to be successful with money if I follow this. Even the parts that don't make sense, right? Okay, so Isaiah 55, 8 and 9 says, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. As far as the heaven is above the earth, so are my ways above your ways and my thoughts above your thoughts. God says that it's a curse. God says you are a slave to he who you owe money to. It's your choice. Do you want a curse? Do you want a blessing? Now, pragmatically, Patrick, we have the money in the account. We just use the credit card and then we pay the account balance off immediately. And we earn all these miles. Our charity is in Kenya. We have to fly there to do it. Okay, so pragmatically speaking, we can all agree. That's a great idea. We get to save money. What can you not see?
When you don't have the money, you still feel the need to
Okay, what you can't see are the spiritual implications. Has anyone ever seen the spiritual implications of a decision in their life? No, we might have felt them sooner or later. And God might have said, hey, guess what? This is for that. But that's where I come down to it, is if debt is a curse, then, I don't want to be involved in it. Go ahead. Yeah, no, it's good. We're here to answer questions. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's called fraud. It's illegal, but yes, you can. Pragmatic, spiritual. I'm not going to argue with you on a pragmatic stance. Okay, but if you can show me in the Bible where it says that debt is a good thing, one time, I will change my tune. It never says it. Yes, Nick?
Weird question in the same line.
Okay.
I don't think I've recommended you general, but you can actually pay your credit card and have a negative balance.
Mm-hmm.
How would you feel about that?
For me, the use of a credit card is debt. Debt is a curse. I'm not going to do it. I've been in debt before. I'm answering. I'm not asking you to like the answer. It absolutely is.
If your credit card company owes you money, how are you in debt?
Okay. What you're doing is you're taking out a loan with the credit card.
I don't understand.
Okay. What we're assuming is that everything works out between transactions. Right?
I don't think so, but apparently
Okay, so
you think that, I don't think
Okay, so you're saying you have the money. You pay the credit card ahead of time.
$500 flight. I put $500 in zero balance credit card. Put $500 in. Zero balance. I put 600 in because I want to make sure I never go into debt. And then I buy $500 flight.
Yeah, you're describing the use of a debit card where you have the money.
I mean, you can get a credit card with a $250 balance, super low balance. Pay it ahead. Would you be against that?
Yeah, 100%. Credit cards at all, anytime, in any way, 100% against them. If you don't like my plan, do your plan. Okay, let's keep moving it along because we got some stuff we got to get through. We have way too much stuff to get to. Okay, step 2, fill in the blank. Step 2 is an emergency fund. The emergency fund is going to help us to never have to go into debt again. The idea is simple. What we are going to do is we are going to save up $1,000 as fast as possible. Every family in America, on average, has an emergency every 7 years. When's the last time you had one? Say, I don't know, it's been a while. Well, hold on to your socks. Okay, it's coming. There you go. Had one last year. Yeah. Now, I've heard people say, well, brother, I don't have to worry about that. I'm just going to trust Jesus. Do you know that that's a euphemism for I don't know what I'm talking about? So I'm just going to go ahead and blame God when it doesn't work out. We have no right to ask God to do for us what he has already told us we are supposed to do. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Proverbs 22, 3, it's in your notes, bottom right-hand corner of the page right here. Page with the Monopoly man on it. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. The wise see potential problems in the future and they prepare for them. They see problems that might come up down the road and they prepare ahead of time. Proverbs 6, verse 6 through 8. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. The ant is smarter than the average Christian. That's why God tells us to watch the ants and learn from them. The ant stores up in the summertime for the winter. The old saying goes, you've got to grow hay while the sun shines. The ant grows and harvests and stores up when it can, so when a season arrives where he cannot come up with provision, it doesn't matter because the ant has already saved up. Our goal is to save up $1,000 as fast as possible. If you have a savings account with $1,000 or more in it, congratulations, you've already completed step number 2. If not, sell something. The idea behind the emergency fund is simple. When a large expense comes up that we did not plan for, we used to pay for those expenses with the credit card, putting us back into debt in a bad position. Now we will have the cash to cover some type of expenditure that we were not ready for. If we keep going into debt, then we will never get out of debt. If you always do what you've done, you'll always get what you got. If nothing changes, nothing changes. There's a dozen little cute slogans for this. Pick whichever one you like. Our goal in step 1 is to stop racking up new debt. We do that by having an emergency fund that can help pay for any unplanned expenses that come up. Now, this emergency fund should be liquid. That means cash in a safe. After all, we need to get to it quickly. It's for an emergency. That means it's unexpected and sudden. We don't want to keep our money in a CD or any kind of an account or an investment where it takes several days to get it out. Now, some folks are like, well, Patrick, I can be earning a couple percent on the money. Don't worry about earning interest on the money. It's such a small amount of money, it's not going to matter a hill of beans by the end of the year, okay? It's not going to accrue that much in interest. We want to save this money up as fast as humanly possible, work overtime, sell something, whatever it takes to get the money set aside as fast as possible. Now, the requirement for using your emergency fund is it must be unexpected, necessary, and urgent. If you can plan for it and don't, it is not an emergency. If you can put it off and save up for it, it is not necessary. Any questions on the emergency fund? Okay. We are going to keep on going without this break. Can you guys make it? You need the break, go take a break, use the restroom, whatever you need, but we definitely have a little bit of ground to cover to try to get this done for evening number 1. Okay, step 3. Step 3 is make a budget. The F word, budget. We will never fix our financial situation unless we get on a budget. To most Americans, the word budget is a 4-letter curse word. They hate it and they will not allow it to be spoken of in their home. Fixing a budget comes down to 2 simple numbers: how much you make and how much you spend. A budget keeps you from making the number 1 mistake in personal finances. Now, let me explain what this number 1 mistake is. There it is. Friend of mine had a job. He was in sales. 100% commission, no salary, no hourly wage, no nothing, sales. He was in a new industry, and he started off in his first year, he made $20,000. Somehow he squeaked out a living on that. It was tough, but because it was a new industry and he was a heck of a salesman, he stuck with it. He didn't want to give up. He learned the industry. And the second year, he made $200,000. Okay? Really took off. Now, here's the question. How much did he spend each year? And here's a hint. It was the same amount. How much did he spend? All of it. He spent all of it because he didn't have a budget. A budget is a plan for your money. So before it shows up, you have a place you are going to put it. If we don't have a plan for our money, then we default to the plan of the poor. What does the poor do with all of their money? They spend it all. That is the plan of the poor. They usually default to that plan, but that is their plan. Their plan with money is spend it all. Now, I know people who earn $250,000 a year and spend it all. You can be a high-income earner and still be poor. Poor is not an amount of money. Poor is a mindset. I cannot emphasize enough how important a budget is. We're going to go over a budget tonight and next week. And here's the good news. You ready for this? Has anyone ever had anxiety going to the mailbox, concerned about a bill that was coming in? Concerned about the amount of money that you had and what might show up? You didn't know what you're going to do or how you're going to pay for it? Do you know that you can purchase serenity? And I'm not talking about Xanax. You can purchase serenity. It's called the savings account. It's called life insurance. It's called a Roth IRA. Anyone ever been concerned, man, I don't know what I'm going to do when I get old. I don't know how I'm going to live. Am I going to have enough money? What am I going to do? You can pay for those fears to go away. You don't need therapy. You need a Roth IRA. You have a budget and you never have to be scared to go to the mailbox again. 2/3 of American adults live paycheck to paycheck. What do you think their problem is? Well, they don't make enough money. That's the answer most people give. Do you know why everyone gives that answer? Yeah, everyone wants to make more money. Most people think if they just made more money, they wouldn't have any money problems. Nobody's problem is that they don't make enough money, not in America today. I know that because over 1/3 of high-income earners in America today live paycheck to paycheck. People that earn between $100,000 to $250,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. So whether you are rich or you are poor, you spend too much money. That is our problem. We fix that with a budget. Let's go over the budget. I gave you one right here. If you never filled out a budget, you have a copy of one. You do not need to use this. I've used an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I've used an Excel spreadsheet. They make apps nowadays that have budgets, okay? You don't have to use this one, but this is a template. If you've never seen it before, you will not turn to stone if you look at it, okay? It's not going to hurt you. It will not bite. Let's go over this. So one of our goals is to eliminate financial surprise. We do that by planning out every financial requirement we know we are going to run into. And as we go through this budget, I want you to notice line items that you never thought of before. Homework assignment number 2. Homework step 2 is fill in your budget. For next week, be as detailed as you like. The more detailed you are, the easier it will be to manipulate it next week to make it work for you. Our goal is to find problems and weaknesses in our budget and correct them. Now, you don't need to fill this out right now while we're talking about it. You can do it over the course of the next week, but the folks that fill this out and bring it back next week filled out are going to have an easier time next week. Start in the upper left-hand corner, we have income. In any and every form money comes into our house, we need it recorded by the month. This whole budget is by the month. Okay, it's not weekly, it's monthly. The amount you spend on your cell phone each month. The amount you spend on fuel for your car each month. Underneath income is transportation. You got a car payment? You pay auto insurance on that car every month. You fill it with gas. You have it washed. Fill in the amounts you spend on it every month. Any questions so far? Yes.
Well, I'm a substitute teacher, so I make money January, February, March, April, May, and then I don't make money June, July, half of August,
Okay.
or like most of December.
Okay. So the question was, I'm a substitute teacher. I only work so many months a year. What's your question? No, it's good. I'm repeating it for folks listening at home because the microphone doesn't pick up you. So that's why I'm repeating it. Yeah. Is different.
Every single month.
Okay, it's a great question. I'm self-employed. So in the same way, I have income where one month I'll make half of what the month I made before. Okay, so the best that we can do is we can average things. Now, in the months, like in the summer, every teacher that I know, when the summer months comes up, they get a summer job. Some don't. And I know that out here, the Department of Education says if you're a teacher, we can pay you one of two ways. We can break it up into 12 months and you make a little less, or we'll pay you the full amount while you're working, and then in the summer, good luck, that's up to you. So the best you can do is go back to, this is the amount that I know I'm going to get. Okay, I always make this amount, $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, whatever it is. And some months, I do a little better and I do this because I work, nights or weekends, or I get a part-time job doing something different in the summer and it pays better, whatever it is. But all we can do is average. Now, what we do is we work more on percentages rather than dollar amounts. So what we have is we are going to save this percentage. We're going to invest this percentage. We're going to use this percentage to eliminate debt. And whatever amount of money comes in, that's what we do. Then we have other things that are clear items of, I spend this much on groceries. This is my amount, and I'm not going to spend more than this. So the income can go up and down. Some of the expenses are going to be percentages of the money that comes in. Other items are going to be hard items. So you're going to fill in. The fact is, if you have a car payment, that's the same. They don't care if you're working or not, right? You owe the same thing. So those are easy. Yours is mostly focused just on income. So all you can do is say, okay, let me look back on the last 6 months and let's say, what was my average or what was the median? We can't base our budget on the best month, right? Because that'll leave us short. So we're going to go off of the average, and that's the best we can do. Being self-employed or having irregular income means you're going to be looking at your budget a lot more often than everybody else, okay? But it's going to actually help you. I know people that used to get paid, they worked for the state, they got paid on the first of the month, and that was just one payment every month. So they had 12 payments that they had to budget out for, okay? So theirs was easier to plan. For people that are self-employed, people that have income that fluctuates, it's a little tougher. Yep, good question. Okay. Insurance. There are several types of insurance. That's the next one down. These are types of insurance that you need. We'll talk about them later. They are listed here for you. Life, home, auto, long-term care, long-term disability, health, and an umbrella policy. If you don't know what those are, don't worry. We'll talk about them next week. Then the top in the center. Home, you have mortgage or rent. A lot of people might have a second mortgage. If you don't know what a second mortgage is, congratulations, you're doing well. We have credit cards. Most people have several. Student loans, personal loans, a HELOC. You have monthly utilities, water, sewer, trash, gas, electric, internet, cell phone, house cleaner, educational expenses for the kids. Remember, there are blanks where you can add extra things in if you need to add extra. Like I said, you can also make up your own budget. You don't have to use this one, but I would like you to make a budget for next week when you come back. Now, I understand that utility bills are also different every month. Here's what you do. Call up your water company, get a copy of your last 12 months, take the average. That's what your water bill is going to be, or it's going to be close to that. If you take the average and it's $13, go ahead and write 15. That way you know you're going to cover it. Remember, this is just a template. Yours is going to be a little bit different. Do the same thing for the gas bill and the electric bill, whatever else you need to pay for every month. Any questions so far? Yes, Christy.
This might be out of our conversation, let me know if it is.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's all you can do. Again, so because your tithe is a percentage and your income is irregular, the best you can do is guess on what that's going to be. And like I said, so here's the thing. What we all got to remember is there are some things here that are written in stone, right? Your auto insurance is not going to change month to month no matter what you do. Well, I mean, it could if you get into a lot of accidents, but for the most part, it's not going to change. Your grocery budget can change. You have room, you have some flexibility in some stuff. The fuel for your car can change. Okay? You can carpool, you can ride a bike, you can do some different things to change. You can try to make it work if you need to fudge something here and there. What we're going to do is we're going to find that we're going to have money in here for debt relief. We're going to pay down our debts. So there are going to be some months where, hey, we didn't make as much. We can't put as much toward debt relief. We can't put as much towards saving for a house. We can't put as much toward X, Y, or Z. So the budget, it's not chiseled into 2 tablets of stone by the finger of God. It's the best we can do until the money comes in. But remember, at least we have a plan. It can move. But not having a plan is suicide. Good question, Christy. Yes, ma'am.
Just according to this, if you have, for instance, perhaps a rental,
Uh-huh.
you have your own mortgage and then your rental,
Uh-huh.
so do you want this budget to reflect everything
Everything.
responsible for two?
You got it. So if you have, the question was, if you have a rental, should we add everything into it? Absolutely. So the mortgage payment, the second mortgage payment, the income from the rental, what we want is every single dollar that passes through our accounts to be on here. Okay? So that's the best we can do. Now, for those of you that are self-employed, understand, how about this? Someone remind me when we're done to explain how this works being self-employed. Okay, I just want to give a 2-minute, answer to that. Okay, very good question. Let's keep going. The bottom of the center says future, savings for the future. We might not be doing any of this right now, but we need to. Do you have a savings plan? Do you contribute money every month to a Roth IRA or a 401k? Do you know what those are? You will by the end of this class. Do you have an IRA or invest money into a mutual fund? If so, write it down. Remember, when we fill this out, it's not for what we wish we were doing. It's for what we are doing. Whatever we're doing right now, even if it's terrible, even if it's a dumpster fire, we want to record what we're doing now. Okay, personal, top right, groceries, cleaning supplies for the house, toiletries, dinner out, date nights, flowers. You and your spouse should both have an allowance. That's money that you can just blow on whatever you want. Pick an amount of money that you don't mind blowing every month on junk. It's money just for fun. Remember, there's not a right or a wrong number. It's what you can afford. But if we write it down, what we're going to find out is like, wow, I've been eating out 4 nights a week. This is how much it costs. When you get it down in front of you, you're like, wow, no wonder I struggle paying for rent. That's why we're doing it, so we can see where we need to move the money. Include money for all of your monthly memberships, getting your hair cut, your nails done, your streaming services like Netflix, all of your digital subscriptions like Spotify Premium or Amazon Audible. Do you donate a monthly contribution to your favorite local podcaster? Okay, there are important monthly contributions you need to plan for. That was another joke. For those of you that don't know, I have a podcast. Okay, now we get down to the bottom right, total. Total up your income, subtract all of your expenses. If it's a negative number, you're in trouble. The reason you're in trouble is because we're not done. All right, so this next part is not really written out on your notes, so you're just going to have to jot down notes as we talk about this, but we got a few minutes. We're going to be 15 minutes late. I think we started 15 minutes late, so I feel pretty good about that. Savings. Lots of it. This next part, although difficult, will bring you a level of comfort and security that you will be grateful for. What do you do about a new car? You need a new car. You have money saved up for it? The car you are in today is going to kick the bucket one day. I don't know when that will be, but you are going to need another car when it happens. That car will cost you money. Are you saving up for it now? Again, if you do not change your mind about debt, then you're going to say, what do I care? I'm just going to borrow money for it. That's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea because you know it's going to happen and you could be saving money for it. The amount you are going to save for your new car is up to you. I can tell you that I just recently purchased a new vehicle for myself, and it was to replace a 28-year-old pickup truck. Now, I am a pretty prideful man, but I am not too prideful to pull up to a house, lower the window, reach through the window, and open the car from the handle outside because the inside has a broken handle, and then raise the window again. My radio didn't work. My seat didn't work. The gauges didn't work. The air conditioning worked. It was a joke. but it was mine, and I owned it free and clear. Now, what we're going to talk about for a minute is called the envelope system. Here's how you do it. You get yourself a white business envelope and you write on it, new car. You decide this is how much I need to save up so that when my car dies, I can afford a new one. $100, $200, $300, I don't care what it is. But you're going to put money in it every month. Each month you're going to put that amount of cash into that envelope. I know getting cash out of the bank is a hassle and nobody likes doing it. Well, get used to it. You're going to do it a lot. You are going to have a handful of these envelopes and you're going to deal with a lot of cash. One of the reasons that we use the envelope system in cash is because you are less likely to steal from that envelope than you are from a savings account where you say, oh, I just put all the money we save in this one account and it earns a little bit of interest and it's pretty handy. And then when something comes up, something stupid that you don't need to spend money on, okay, like your friend's getting married in a destination wedding, or, you have, I don't know what, a vacation with all your friends that just graduated from college to go to Mexico, and you don't have the money and you want to go, what do? You rob your savings account. So we have an envelope system, and we put the cash in there. Joanna and I are on this massive savings plan that I'm talking to you guys about, and we have been since we were married about 17 years. About 5-6 years ago, our SUV died. We were driving up to the Powderhorn with my sister Terry. She was visiting from New York, and the thing just died, and the transmission melted into a puddle, and we had to have it towed back to town. Now, the thing was dead, and we needed a new vehicle, and because I have 6 kids, we needed third-row seating, and we didn't have a lot of time to look for one because Joanna needed a vehicle to cart those kids around. And there's not that many options when you're looking for a vehicle with third-row seating in the valley, so we went shopping, we drove everywhere, and we looked at every single one in the valley, and we picked one, and this vehicle ended up being $18,000. I think it had 75,000 miles on it. After taxes, it was $20,000. So $20,000 car payment with zero down, that's going to be like a $500 a month loan for the next 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it was. That is going to curb stomp your budget. That is going to punch your budget in the face if you have to pay $500, $600 a month. You want to know what the average car payment is in America today? It's over $600. We can't handle that. But wait, we have an envelope in the safe at home. Says car on it. We drive home. We open up that envelope. What did it have? Sadly, it did not have $20,000 in it. But it had 14. And let me tell you, 14 was a heck of a lot better than zero down for that new car. We gave him the 14. We financed the rest, $160 a month payment. But what did we do? You know all that extra money that we used to save up for everything? All these different things that we had envelopes for? Okay, we stopped putting money into all those. We took all the money we had extra every month. We had that car payment knocked out in less than 12 months. We just bought a new vehicle to replace my work truck 3, 4 months ago. I don't know. When? July? That long ago? My soul. In July, cost more than the SUV, paid cash for it. There you go. No loan. Budget didn't even feel it. I about had a heart attack handing over all that money. But it sure feels better than a $500, $600, $700 car payment. So guess what? Patrick has money to be able to do all the important things, like save and invest. So when I retire, I don't have to retire on dog food and government assistance. That was a good time for it. Yeah. So, if you're single, you need to save up for a car. If you're married, you might need to save up for two. What is step one? Stop racking up new debt. That includes buying a new car. We have to set aside the money so when it happens, we have the money. Now, I wish I could tell you, that first one we didn't have to borrow any money on. I wish I could say that, but I can't. I'd be lying to you. So I just figure I'll be honest with you. Okay? We were on this plan, but, we were on our way. You know what was funny? Out of the whole thing, I was then able to sell that vehicle with the melted down transmission to a guy that works on those vehicles for $2,500. So then I think, it was like almost half of the, car payment that we took off. I sold the scrap thing. Anyway. Okay, guess what else doesn't have to be an emergency? Christmas. Make an envelope, write Christmas on it. You'd think someone would save up a little bit. Who are you buying presents for? How much are you spending on each person? Do you have a big family meal? Do you take time off of work? Add it all up, divide it by 12. That's the amount that you need to set in that envelope every year. So when Christmas comes up, it's not a stressor. 25% of Americans said that they are not done paying off their credit card bill from Christmas 2022. And they loaded it up again for Christmas 2023 before paying off 2022. You should have an envelope for yearly expenses like Thanksgiving, birthdays, and hunting trips. You should also save up for expenses that are going to come up, but you don't know when, like furniture or clothing or vacations. None of them have to be a financial stress. Any questions on the envelope system? We're almost done.
Every category is future.
Yeah, and really, nothing on the envelope is on this budget. So if you look on this budget, there's nothing for vacation. There's nothing for Christmas. These are all additional to this budget because we don't know when it is. We're going to need a car, but we don't know when. We're going to go on vacation. We don't know when. We don't know for how much. So if you want to do these things, save up. Okay. Who here owns a home? Okay, great. I'm willing to bet your home has hot water in it. Well, when your hot water heater breaks, so you have a 40-gallon natural gas hot water heater, plumbers are told by the manufacturers to tell you that they are going to last for 10 to 12 years. If you have me install one for you, it's going to be $2,000. And if you want to save up for that over the course of 10 years, all you have to do is set aside $17 a month, and you multiply that by 120 months, and that's going to equal $2,040, and guess what? You have the money for it when it breaks. You say, well, and a $40 tip. Okay? You say, Patrick, I don't know if my hot water heater is brand new. I think mine's 5 years old. All right, then you have to save up $34 instead of $17. Okay? I'll go to a customer's house that has a hot water heater that's leaking and needs to be replaced, and I'll tell them the price, and they nearly drop dead of a heart attack. And I've actually had customers start crying in front of me in their garage and ask me, what are we going to do? And I always tell them the same thing. I don't care. My hot water works fine. Now, I don't really say that, but what did you expect? You think I tell them, oh, don't worry, I'll cover this one for you? What plumber's going to say that? That is not reality. So here's my question. How much is it worth to you to not have to cry in front of your wife and kids in your garage? It's worth $17 a month. Because I've seen a grown man cry in front of his family, and it's ugly. Don't do it. New forced air furnace in a normal size 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house will cost you between $3,400 to $6,200 depending on features. That furnace will last you about 20 years. If your furnace is brand new and you're going to save up to it, you are going to end up saving about $15 to $26 depending on some features. If it's air conditioning, you're going to need to save up closer to $40 to $50 a month and be ready to spend that in 20 years. Do you know what people call it when they don't save up $50 a month and their furnace and air conditioning go out? They call it an emergency, and they cry in front of me. Savings plan. You need a savings plan that incorporates a new refrigerator, dishwasher, oven, washer, dryer, hot water heater, furnace, and air conditioner. I did the math on all these things. If you start saving up for all of them now, and all of your appliances live to their full life expectancy, and they're all brand new, and you buy reasonably priced ones when they die, you're going to need to save up $110 to $120 a month to cover all of them. You say, well, Patrick, my house is, 10 years old. Well, you're going to have to save up $220 to $240 to cover all of them. Now remember, not all your appliances are going to break at the same time, so I don't think anyone needs to go home and stress out about this. The point is, it is going to happen. And if we are not saving up for it, we are irresponsible. This idea brings worry and anxiety to some people, and you don't need to worry about it today. Do you know why? Because you have an emergency fund. And although it's not going to cover everything, it's going to cover a lot. So if you are in debt and you got a bunch of debt you need to pay off right now, I don't think you need to stress out about saving $100, $200, $300 a month for all of your appliances. My point is, I wanted you to understand the principle. Right now, getting out of debt is way more important than saving up for all these things. We want to do step 2, save up $1,000 in an emergency fund, so when something comes up, we will be able to cover it. We don't have to stress. We are going to increase our emergency fund to be able to cover all of these things, including a new car or you losing your job for 3 to 6 months, but not yet. Right now, we just need $1,000 set aside in cash, which will cover us. We'll be able to float by most problems that could show up, and we don't have to go into debt anymore. Any questions? Any questions on filling in your budget? You really need to fill in your budget for next week to make much sense. Remember, don't fill in your budget as you wished it was. Fill in your budget as it actually is. No matter how big of a blazing dumpster fire it is, it doesn't matter. Fill it in honestly. Any questions on cutting up your credit cards and starting an emergency fund? If anyone goes home and cuts up their credit cards this week, put them in a Ziploc bag, bring them in. I want to take a picture with you. We are done with evening number 1. We have time to answer questions, and then we will be finished. Remember to bring a friend next week.